this with nothing going on here. So I love you guys, and I appreciate you. So today we are going to be continuing this thought for the month that is the light within the shadows. And we've seen different versions of how that shows up. And our topic for today is playing in the shadow. Now, last time I spoke about playing in the shade of the tree, the repose, the going into that place for quiet. No, this is not the shade of the tree. This is your shadow. This is shadow, yeah. So we all went like, here we go. No, it is not going to go that it's not, the shadow is not to be avoided. It is something we truly, truly, truly want to embrace because it is the wholeness within us. But you know, always before I'm going to go in there, I'm going to give you a little funny so that we can go in with a happy face. So Patty and John were on the work site, and they were working hard, and Patty was like, you know, I feel like a day off, so I'm going to act mad. And they're going to send me home because I'm acting mad. And John looked at him and was like, what? He goes, yeah. So the next thing, Patty scrambles up the scaffolding, hangs from his feet down from the scaffolding and goes, I'm a light bulb, I'm a light bulb, I'm a light bulb. And the foreman looks over and goes, oh my God, Patty has lost his mind. Patty, you got to go on home, you've lost your mind. And he looks over and Patty comes down and starts packing up his kit. And as he's moving to leave, John is packing up his kit too. And the foreman looks over at him and goes, but John, why are you packing up? He goes, I'm not working in the dark. Yeah, that's how we work in the shadow. We're not going to work in the dark, we're going to work in the shadow. So we always want to begin with one of the things I want us to remember, very importantly, is why are we here? Why are we having our experience on this plane at this time in this form of this being? You know, that big question, what's my purpose in life? Well, I think you've heard me say this before, and I love saying it. It's for the joy of God. Literally, it's for the joy of God. We are all wonderful expressions of the divine right here, right now. And the only way this source, this energy, this intelligence has any way of expressing is as us. As us. As every living thing out there, every plant, every tree, every animal of every form, even the tiniest little fucking fire ant is an expression of the divine. And the divine is having its way through it right here, right now. And we are too. And in our form, we have a little bit more complexity than the average animal that works through just instinct and intuition. We are here with choice. We are here with conscious choice. We're also here with a lot of stuff that we take on as baggage from the minute we're children. So one of the purposes, one of the ways that we want to move through our experience is to create an open vessel, a clean vessel for the divine to be its highest expression as us in this form. Because you know I've said this, if you don't do you, nobody else is going to do you because there's nobody else like you. You're single. You absolutely, there's not another living soul in this galaxy, maybe, we don't know, but in this galaxy that is the same as you, right? Just like a snowflake, we're individualized expressions of the divine. So if you don't do you in the best possible way, it's not going to get done. And one of the best ways to do that is to clear the stuff, I'm looking for a good word, the blocks in you, so that this wonderful, magnificent energy and source can work through you cleanly out into the world. Yes. Now we have moments of it. Oh yeah, we've all had moments of, and then something comes up and goes, yeah. Right here, it goes, what is this going on? What is this thing inside me? These are the blocks. So we want to move these blocks. Okay? We want to remove them. And what we recognize and know is as we move closer and closer to this fullest expression of the light of ourselves, of the light of the divine, guess what happens? Your shadow gets bigger. It does. It actually gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Do you remember, I don't know if any of you have actually seen it, but you know about shadow puppetry. So shadow puppetry had its origins back in like 100 BCE, that era there in the Han Dynasty. And the wonderful thing about shadow puppetry is that you can create dimension and depth by moving closer or further away from the light. Well, you can also create joy and anger. Because remember, when they wanted a character to look awful, they would pull it closer to the light so that the shadow got bigger and more ominous and menacing. That's what's happening with us too. As we move closer to the light, as we clear the stuff out, so that shadow behind us, it gets bigger and bigger and more menacing. And we may want to know why. Why is this happening? Why is the shadow coming forward to be this place? Why is it growing? We're doing our work. Shouldn't it be shrinking? Shouldn't we be getting less of that stuff? But our shadow grows so that we can access it. So that we can access that stuff that is still a blockage. That stuff that has been in there for so long. And sometimes we don't even know what's in there. Because when we look at the shadow, first of all, what is the shadow? What's in there? The shadow is our old way of doing things. The things we don't particularly like about ourselves. Regrets. Painful trauma. Anger. Resentment. All of these things that we really don't want to address. We love this idea of cutting through the middle and just going back to the light, back to the light. Leave it behind. Yes, we can do that. We can look away from it and look at the light, move to the light. But if we want to continue that journey of release and growth and opening, we have to at some point look back at the shadow and take some of that stuff and deal with it. We have to do that. It is not always pleasant. It can be very, very messy from time to time. But the way we do this and the reason we do this is so that we can truly heal. So even though we are digging into this shadow place, this place of yuckiness, we can do it with a lightness and a love, because we know the purpose behind it is to heal and to bring forth a greater understanding of who we are, how we are, and the greater expression, the greatest expression of the divine that we can possibly be. Everybody want to jump into your shadow right now? Yeah, we can absolutely do that. And there's so many ways that we can do it. But the most important thing is we want to understand that we need to embrace our shadow. We need to embrace it because we want to understand that there is a wholeness in it. Carl Jung says this, which is really, really, really profound with it. How can I be substantial if I do not cast a shadow? I must have a dark side if I am to be whole. Yeah, we saw that when we look at the yin-yang. You got the light and the dark. You got the balance going on. But how can I be substantial if I do not have a shadow? There's a meaning in there that how am I where I am right now if I haven't had all of these experiences? And we know not all experiences leave us fantastic. Sometimes they're not so great, but they all be part of our quilt. Do you remember our quilt? The quilt of every single situation, every relationship, everything that has ever happened in our life is that one little square that has been made and put together. We don't cut these squares out. No, we embrace them. Now, sometimes we don't really remember what that square was. Sometimes it's better that we don't remember what that square was. But for all that we need, we are this quilt. And so there's this idea that we want to embrace all of that yuckiness, but how do we do that? We don't want to embrace it in its ugliness. We want to embrace it in a way that heals and transforms and brings us forward. So this is the invitation to play in the shadow. The invitation of playing in the shadow is so that we can go in with a little bit more joyfulness. And it reminds me first, before we get into the pain, of this young girl that was, she went to service without her mom. Her mom wasn't feeling that great, so she went to service. And she came home and her mom said to her, "So tell me, what was the service about today?" And she goes, "Oh, don't be scared, Mom. You'll get your quilt." And the mom is looking at her going, "Don't be scared, you'll get your quilt? What does that mean?" So she got a visit from the pastor a little while later to check in on her, and she said, "Pastor, I'm confused. What did you talk about today?" He goes, "Oh, be not afraid, thy comforter is coming." So we get to play, and this is why I brought a little levity back into this, because this work can be dark, it can be challenging, but we can approach it from this idea of we're cleaning. You know, sometimes cleaning's not a bad idea at all. And so how do we go into it? We've got to go in with a desire. Do we have the desire to get rid of some of the stuff that's irking us, some of these things that are bringing up old ideas? This is also a way that we can recognize what is in our shadow, is when something irks us, or somebody's attitude sparks you for no reason, or if there is a smell that you smell, or a tune that you hear. What is in there? What was it that happened in that time and place? Go there right now. Can you think of somebody or a character or a personality around you that just drives you insane? Take a minute. Take a minute and think of that person. Who is that person? What is that thing that people do? You know, those people. You know, when they do that, it just drives me freaking insane. What is it? What is that thing? I said frickin'. Yeah, you thought you'd catch me, you guys. Ain't gonna happen. So we go there, and let's take that in. Take that little irritation in for a moment, and just go a little deeper with it. Who does that remind you of in your past? When was your first experience with that yucky feeling? When somebody ignited that yuckiness in you? When was that? Can you bring it up? Does it feel yucky? Feel like it is right here, right now, that person is doing that. Feel it. Make it. Bring it forward in your senses. That yucky feeling that person did. Are you the same person now than you were then? Probably not. Are you subjected to that feeling as you were then? Probably not. So let's gently look at that feeling, look at that person, and realize that person is not in your life or present right now. Send them some love. Send yourself some love. Reach deep down into you and say, I bless myself in this moment for whatever happened back then. And I release it right here, right now. This is not mine to carry. Okay. And now remember, the next time somebody comes around and is that same feeling for you, stop, take a breath, and go, nope, nope. I'm going to shoot a little love out in that direction because we do understand that love is the way to quell all of this Maya that's around us. Take a breath, everybody. One of the hardest things to play in the shadows, we have desire, we have curiosity, but it requires a tremendous amount of courage. Because even in the little step we took today, we just tipped the tip of the iceberg. But even in that place, you can feel a resistance of going there. I don't want to go there. I don't want to look at that stuff. It's past, it's behind me. But unfortunately, it is not behind you. Because until we do that releasing work around it, it's going to show up in the people around you over and over and over again. And also, it will hide in its shadow. It'll hide some of the most magnificent stuff you have to share with the world. You might not even know it yet because it's been hidden under that other stuff. We have a share here from Reka. Our deepest fears are like dragons guarding our deepest treasures. Our deepest fears are like dragons guarding our deepest treasures. So we do this work, we go there so that we can bring ourselves back into the light. Bring ourselves back into the light. Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching, says this. He goes, sitting in the shadow, we may not really believe that there is any sunshine. Because when we do this work and we dive, we can get mired in it. But the sun will be there all the time. And as we do the work, we awaken to it. So remember, it's going to take you courage to go there. And when you get into it, if it feels yucky, just remember, the sun is always shining. And it's bringing you forward, inviting you to know more and be more of who you truly are. And there are ways that we do it. We begin with introspection. Yeah, who likes introspection? Yes, we like it. Yes. And we like it more when we do it more. Because when we do introspection, we're not as fearful of what we may find. So we go there, we ask ourselves some of those questions around you with a willingness to be curious about what it is that sparks you, what it is that irritates you in the world. This is the shadow work that we're doing. We do our spiritual practices, journaling. I know that some people go, oh God, journaling again. No, journaling allows us that opportunity to get a thought and to work it out a little bit further. And you will be surprised that as your hand works, it brings up stuff that you were thinking, hang, I didn't even think about any of that. It's the truth. It happens to me every morning. I sit down and think, all right, what's going on here? Then the next thing I'm like, oh, isn't that interesting? It's wonderful work to do. And of course, when we combine that with our meditation, it is absolutely brilliant because we bring forth a greater sense of being as we are revealing and releasing. And then, of course, the most important one of all is when we do emotional inquiry. The willingness to listen to your words that you're saying about yourself. The willingness to actually hear them, what you're saying to yourself and others. The willingness to look at what you're feeling in a situation, and the willingness to see how you are reacting to a situation. Not responding, reacting. How are you reacting to the situation? And you know you can do this easily when you're by yourself, right? Yes. You could go up and you could take yourself into a beautiful silent retreat and just dive into this work. And it's much easier. It's brilliantly easy. Dr. Holmes always said, this work can be done easily when you're sitting on a mountaintop all by yourself in your Zen mode and everything. We can dive and we can go. But it's not to be done alone. It's to be done in community. Yes. But it's to be done in community. So here is your greatest tool, my friends. Look around you. This is your greatest tool for working, doing your shadow work. For it is around you and in this community where people will spark you, where things will happen, situations, smells will occur, things that you were like, this person really? And you'll look at it and you will remember that every person is an expression of the divine. Every person whose words are being spoken is God speaking to you. Because that's how God speaks, is through other people to you. If it sounds like an unkind word, how do you want to respond? If it sounds like something beautiful and generous, how do you want to respond? Because in our shadow work as well, we deal with how do we take on compliments? How do we take on kindness? Do we reject it? That's also in our shadow. It's not just stuff that's coming to us negatively. It could be how do we respond to the positive. And in community, we have the wonderful way of coming together. We're like rocks in the tumbler, remember? We are rocks in the tumbler where we polish each other. We get to work together. We get to look and go, is there something more to be known? Is there something going on that is sparking me? Why is that person or that character coming back into my life? What work have I not done that I need to keep on forgiving? I think we all have one of those. I know, I have one of those. I absolutely have. And as soon as that person shows up in my life, I'm like, I see you now. I see you. I know who you are. I know who you represent. I guess I got to go back and forgive her again. And again. And again. And we keep doing that work because until we are not done with our work, that same character is going to show up. And this is why we do our shadow work. So that we can know. We can know when that person walks in, I can see you. I know who you are. I know why you are here, and I bless you, and I thank you for it. I'll be right back. I'm going to do some work. This is what we do. And this is what's so great about this community is because we come together in love. We come together with that idea to provide an environment of aloha. We come together as community because we desire to grow and be a better version of ourselves. Not just of ourselves, but what the divine has created us to be. This is what we want to do. And so we know that as we walk this walk, there are going to be dark nights. And we know that there's always going to be a morning. Because this is the promise. These are the promise of our rainbows. This is the promise of who we are. That if we just keep on walking, we will walk ourselves through it, walk ourselves out of it. We're not pitching tents. No tents. We walk our way through it. So my invitation for you this week is to do the work. Just take one moment, one day, and just begin. Just take a moment to look around and go, what is the one thing that keeps showing up over and over and over and over and over again? Where did it come from? Where was the original source? Am I willing to go there? Am I willing to take my weed whacker and go deeper, not just on the surface, get in there and dig it out? Because in doing that, we're able to rebuild and heal. So in closing, I just want to read this little piece from Brené Brown, from The Gifts of Imperfection. Owning our story can be hard, but not nearly as difficult as spending our years running from it. Embracing our vulnerabilities is risky, but not nearly as dangerous as giving up on love and belonging and joy, the experiences that make us the most vulnerable. and this, folks, is the most important. Only when we are brave enough to explore the darkness will we discover the infinite power of our light. Only when we are brave enough to explore the darkness will we discover the infinite power of our light. Shine brightly, everybody. And so it is. Let us take this to prayer. So we take a beautiful deep breath in and just bring ourselves center. And we recognize and know in this moment that there is only one power, one source, one universal creative mind that I call God. God is all there is, all that is seen, all that is unseen, omnipotent and omnipresent, ever creating, supplying, supporting, sustaining, and maintaining every single expression. And I know that I am one with that. I know I am of it. I'm made in it, in the likeness of it. I have all that it is working in me and through me and as me. And as I know this for myself, I know this for each and every one of you here today, and each and every expression of the divine, that we are these brilliant creations and expressions of God happening right here, right now, in our own individualized way. And if we don't do what we need to do to open and to do our shadow work and move through it, that this expression of the divine is not going to be known. So I know for each one of us as we walk our path this week, that we walk it in grace, we walk it in elegance, we walk it in joy, we walk it in balance. But more importantly, we walk it in curiosity with the willingness to dive deep within, to clear the space for more wonderment and more good to be known in, through, and as us. And I call it so. So I just release this prayer knowing that Spirit has said yes. Yes, my beloveds, yes. You've set your intentions, you've expressed your desires, and it is already done. It is already done, and done magnificently. So we claim this and know it by saying, and so it is. Thank you.